because you had a dream about it. But I was gonna claim the Kraken. Yeah, well, we'll see how everyone votes. It's a democracy, Steve, not a dictatorship. Oh, Steve, democracy, dictatorship. Well, I'm sorry about that. It's just hard to pack when certain people won't leave me alone. There's no way I'm starting the hunt in Ocean View. Aqualand is my territory. I've been going there longer than Steve's been here. Anyway, I don't want to spend my time talking about Steve. We've got a day to get ready for our excursions, and I have a lot to do. So I'd like to clear something up before I go. I think it was about a year ago when Etta tried to tell a story about a submarine's crew and the horror movie scenario they wound up in. But, of course, she told it wrong. Details were omitted, key figures were left out, and her overall tone was just too chipper. I tried to tell her she was getting everything wrong, but she just wouldn't listen. I've been waiting for a long time to tell this story. Here's what really happened. The year, 1892. The month, June. A crew of 160 people set sail off of the British coast in search of something that definitely didn't exist. Well, at least publicly. But we all know better, don't we? Their quarry? A monster that was the largest ever to be recorded. This thing could make a blue whale look like a puppy. Or so they said. This particular catch of the day had only left a few survivors in its wake, and they weren't really up for blabbing about their close encounter. When word of this unusual challenge spread, one man accepted the call. Captain Charles Rowland, who was, without a doubt, the finest submariner of his time. This is the same guy who took down one of these little creepy crawlies after it disemboweled everyone else aboard his previous ship, the Morpheus. He was met with a handsome reward, but chose to split the prize money up against his fallen crew's families instead. The Morpheus disaster was one of the most involved cover-ups in the Hunt Club's illustrious history. And if you're still having trouble remembering who Captain Charles Rowland was, maybe his final voyage aboard the Artemis rings a bell? A voyage where all 160 souls disappeared. A voyage that, according to some, still hasn't ended. But you don't have to take my word for it. This might come as a bit of a shock to you, but I've had a lot of time on my hands. Which means I happened to memorize all of Captain Rowland's logs, and I'm gonna read them to you today. I hope you can handle the truth. June 7th, 1892, 0800 hours. I forgot what it was like to be surrounded by nothing but the sea. How the colors don't seem to change until you notice that something isn't the same as it was when you woke up. How the passage of time doesn't seem to exist here. Morning, afternoon, evening, they blend together until you wonder why you'd ever separate them in the first place. The crew, thankfully, doesn't seem to be fazed by this. Not yet, anyway. The novelty hasn't worn off of the new ones, but for the rest of us, well, the hollow looks in their eyes are good reminders of what's coming. We've been at sea for nearly a week and are no closer to the quarry than we were when we began. This one is fast, and unfortunately, also quite smart. Not that it matters, we'll have our victory soon enough. I'll be damned if I lose anyone this time. June 10th, 1892, 1400 hours. I've never been good at getting a full night of sleep. Granted, these 18-hour shifts aren't the most conducive for getting any sort of rest, but one can hope. Anyway, at the moment we're supposed to be in the middle of the afternoon, so sleep shouldn't be on my mind, but I've never really cared for convention. So here we are, in the middle of the Atlantic, attempting to accomplish the impossible. A few hours ago, when my insomnia set in, I wandered around the Artemis's narrow passageways, barely finding enough room to breathe. The air was stale, tinged with the lingering aroma of artifice. Sometimes this place feels like a cage that's beginning to collapse. The walls come closer, whispering their desire to crush you, promising a slow, painful demise. Occasionally, I wonder why anyone would be foolish enough to sign up for one of our excursions. It may seem a little hypocritical, and I must admit that when I first joined, it was for the thrill. No one ever enjoys being in a submarine, not after they've lived it. But the glory and the money are certainly their own rewards. June 11th, 1892, 0500 hours. Our objectives and assignments are quite simple. They haven't changed since I started playing this game. And yet, I fear that something in me is quite different now. Sometimes I round a corner and expect to hear Chief Officer Chen's laughter, exuberant and triumphant as she beats another group of poor fools at poker. I see the rest of them too in someone's smile or a sigh. Someone who might be a little too quick to take a command. An overeager new recruit, desperate to make a good impression. But worst of all, I see each and every one of them before I try to sleep. I sit in bed watching as they materialize in front of me. One by one, they watch me. They never speak. They don't have to. I know what they're thinking, what they want. June 12th, 1892, 2300 hours. We've made contact with a creature. It proved to be more elusive than even I had anticipated. But we're finally able to give chase for approximately 3 hours. Once it fell out of our sights for good, I dismissed most of our crew to their quarters. It wasn't a call that coincided with protocol, but it was warranted, given the circumstances. And it's not like I left the Artemis on its own. Some of our old hats volunteered to keep things running while others rested. I counted myself amongst those who would choose anything over sleep. So that's how I wound up recharting our course over the span of 8 restless hours. I don't know why I did it. It was like something was guiding my thoughts, though I know it's an impossible notion. Years of experience informed my decisions, not some disembodied cry from the abyss. But our new direction felt right. Like we were fools to think any other option would lead to anything but defeat. We found our quarry once, and if my intuition had anything to say about it, we'd soon meet again. June 15th, 1892, 1100 hours. I was finally able to sleep. For once, there wasn't any specters standing at the edge of my bed. No one watched me from the shadows as I closed my eyes. I experienced my first dream in years. At first, I thought I was aboard my old ship. It all felt so real. I wandered the Morpheus looking for my chief officer. I couldn't find her anywhere, until I heard her laughter. And that's when I remembered she was dead. They were all dead. That the Morpheus was somewhere at the bottom of the ocean, and everything was wrong. As if waiting on me to make the realization, all light was leached from my surroundings. The shadows consumed everything, bringing with them an unbearable chill that spread through the air. There was silence at first. And then I heard them. My old crew calling to me from darkness, asking me to help them, telling me I'd be joining them soon. I woke with a start, nearly falling out of my bed. Sweat beaded on my forehead as I checked to make sure no one else was in the room. I let out a small sigh when I realized I was alone. I pulled at the comforter a little and startled when I noticed that a small note was sewn into my bedding. My hands shook as I ripped at the stitching, parting the paper from my sheets. In a very neat, precise way, someone had written one word. Morpheus. June 18, 1892, 0500 hours. No one has confessed to leaving the note. I've held interviews with each crew member and thoroughly questioned my officers. The results are the same each time. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. To make things even better, the ocean appears to be in on the joke. No matter how close we come to the surface, we can't seem to find any light. We attempted to breach the water, but caught the creature on our sonar. Any effort to break through the surface was abandoned for the sake of our mission. Our mission. I thought I knew what those words meant. I thought I was proud of them. But every night my old crew waits in the shadows, reminding me of what I've done and what I will do. It's nothing to be proud of. June 19th, 1892, 2200 hours. I have a confession to make. I'm the reason they're all dead. I made a deal. I got the prize. And I don't know what's more terrifying, the fact that I do not regret it, or knowing that I won't hesitate to do it again. I will never be forgiven. I will never have peace. None of us will. June 19, 1892, 2300 hours. They're finally here. Not the ghosts, they'll be here momentarily, but the creature. We didn't see it before. We couldn't have known, but it's not one entity. It's like a school of fish all working together for one purpose. Soon I'll join them, as will my old crew. And my new one.
This mini episode of The Bridge was written and edited by Alex Brown. It features Salim Razawi as Frank. The music playing under our 1892 adventure was composed by a true Jedi Knight, Sarah Fairchild. Be sure to check out our website, thebridgepod.com, send us an email, or find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr. As always, please rate and review us on iTunes or the podcasting app of your choosing. We'd also like to give a special shout out to Molly Woodworth for creating our new logo. If you'd like to see more of her work, check out her website, mollywoodworth.com. Thank you once again for listening to The Bridge. Since we all record this podcast separately, we have to battle some unique conditions when trying to get this thing made. Today's outtake was no exception. Without further ado, here is Salim versus his heater.
Well, I'm sorry about that. And I'm sorry about that heater.